Hello there, gaming loving peeps. Welcome back to my channel. I'm at it again like a crazy person. Friday last week, I played the 5th and 6th drop of Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater, and boy, I had a freaking hell of a time. Mostly because I played on normal mode and I didn't realize how hard this game can get, especially with the limited resources you have. I went through all of my resources. I went all through the sacred embers. I went through a good chunk of the sacred waters that I collected throughout as playing as Ren and Yuri. And then I went through so much film that I didn't even have good damaging film to fight some of the enemies in this game. And because I burned through so much ember, I ended up getting so much, like, you have to keep track of how much water buildup, because otherwise you end up having your health decrease. And I'm surprised I didn't die at all in this game. But I kind of like wanted to create this video to give you my thoughts on it, because I think it's a good amount of chapters that I went through to get a better grasp of the game. So one thing I want to mention though, the gameplay mechanics are a little bit clunky. I felt like I was having a headache trying to move the camera around because it moves so slow. And then of course when you dodge, the spirits of the game, it pulls you out of the camera mode. But because of how the character whips around with certain motions, not just the toggle, but also when you press the trigger, because I'm playing on a PlayStation console. So when you press the triggers and stuff and a certain button to dodge, it does some weird movements. And then I get lost. And then when you turn the camera on, it puts you in a whole different angle from where you were facing. And then the camera movement goes so slow moving in comparison to the third person perspective of the character's movements, that I was like, holy shit. But I guess it's just more about staying calm and just kind of like taking your time. But I guess when you're playing on normal mode and stuff with the limited resources, and then you kind of, like me, I get immersed in a game, I get so freaked out easily. This game freaks the hell out of me. Anything game related that has spirits in it is going to freak the shit out of me. I got freaked out playing Home Sweet Home. I got freaked out playing Alone in the Dark, which I'm just still so disappointed in that game, by the way, because of the enemies in there. It was, when you watch the trailer advertisement for Alone in the Dark, you notice the enemies look a lot different from the final product. The enemies in the trailer look more skeletal, more frightening looking, and then they did the final product, which was all blobs of sludge coming after you. And I'm like, what is this shit? But at least with Fatal Frame, the spirits in here look grotesque. They look, I don't even know how to describe it, because it's mostly the spirits that you're coming across are normal average day people, but also you're dealing with the maidens in here, which I thought they were frightening, even though they have them in kimonos, revealing a lot more cleavage. And it's fan service, because part of that culture, I don't think they really truly reveal that much. I'm like, in the first place, but the fact that they made them show so much cleavage, it was kind of, I get freaked out. At the same time, I'm like, shit, it's like boobs in my face when I'm opening the camera up. And it's just like, it makes me laugh. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm freaking out with the gaming mechanics, because, I don't want to die. I don't want to die in this game, because I haven't died yet. So I don't know what the experience is going to be like. Does it throw you all the way back to the beginning of the chapter, or does it throw you back to the last save point? I'm unsure of that. I've heard different things. I should just watch a video of someone dying and see what happens. But I'm like, I played so many Souls games that it comes the norm to be able to die. So it hasn't clicked in my head yet that, it's okay if I die. It might be a good opportunity, because then I can actually just collect all the resources again. and figure it out quicker the game. But I felt more pressured Friday because I streamed it on Friday, the 5th and 6th drop. I felt more pressure to try to fulfill things in a quicker motion, but I was not finding where I needed to go properly. I did not understand the objective for some reason. It was not clicking, especially in the 6th drop. It was not clicking. That chapter was just not intuitive for me because you're going from one location to another, then to another location. But mostly my issue was in the shrine where, you know, I was like going from one candle location altar to another. Like I think it was just two of an expansive area, and then I didn't realize there was a whole other section, and I passed it so many times, and I was like, how did I miss this? You know, it just didn't click in my head right away. I guess it's just more probably about exhaustion and the fact that I'm like between whipping the camera out and doing these really janky movements, it spoiled it for me, but I like the story. I like the story of the game. It's intriguing about learning about the Shrine Maidens and what happened. And it's still very cryptic. But I guess the big part that got me really interested is the fact that the Shrine Maidens, I learned that their job as a Shrine Maiden was to actually absorb other suffering. So the only reason people visited that mountain, that shrine in the first place, is because they were dying anyway. They went there so the Shrine Maidens could actually take away their suffering so they can pass in peace, die in peace and comfort. So these several different Shrine Maidens had the ability. That's why they had the veils covering their eyes and stuff. And that's the reason why the sadistic killer that couldn't handle rejection from the Shrine Maiden went all fucking crazy and butchered them in the worst way possible and gouged out their eyes because he didn't like the way they were looking at him. And I was like, what is wrong with this person? But then it makes sense because their main role as a Shrine Maiden is to absorb, using their eyes to absorb the suffering of others so they can pass in peace. It kind of reminds me of the concept of a sin eater. The role of a sin eater is to devour another person's sin while they're dying so they can ascend to heaven and everything. So even through that, a sin eater has a capacity that they meet. Even a shaman has a capacity as well of what kind of spirit is allowed to enter their body. So with the Shrine Maiden, once they reach their full capacity, meaning they can't take in any more of other people's suffering because they're acting like a vessel to hold in all that energy, that the energy of all that the darkness, the suffering. And once they reach that, they are turned into pillars. And I was confused. What do they mean? Like they become pillars? And so I had to look it up. And basically, pillars means they were put in those boxes alive. So once they reached their capacity, it was their time to go into those boxes, which is why there were so many boxes in that underground catacomb, is because it's them that's stuck in there. And I'm like, oh my God, like claustrophobic city here. So they sacrifice themselves by suffering, absorbing other people's suffering for the betterment of everyone. Even though they're going to suffer. These Shrine Maidens are fated to suffer because they're going to get shoved into that box, basically becoming a pillar, and so-called put into an eternal sleep. That box is filled with black water so it can contain all that energy that they have in their body. And I was like, what? So why be a shrine maiden? If I knew that was the role of that, I wouldn't even do it at all. Like, what in the world? What possessed? I guess, you know, you have to gaslight all these shrine maidens to believe that you're doing it for the betterment of others, even though you're going to suffer far worse than the person who's dying with their suffering in them. And I'm like, and then they say they're being put into an eternal sleep where they'll never age. And I'm like, dude, they're dead. I'm like, you might as well just say they're dead. I'm like, basically, your fate is to die and be held in this box of black water because you contain so much dark energy. If that releases, it's the end of everything. I'm coming to that conclusion, but I don't know if that's the reason why, because I haven't progressed far enough in the game to realize the whole context of that. I'm like, usually from what I learned in the first Fatal Frame game, the reason why these maidens were sacrificed in the first place, and that you had to convince these maidens this is your role for the betterment of others, to hold back some form of entity and everything from spreading horribleness all over the world, is you have to sacrifice yourself. And of course, they kill these maidens in the worst form of way possible. And I'm like, at least give the woman some morphine or something. The fact that, you know, even in the first game, how they killed all the maidens, I'm like, give them some painkillers in the process. I'm like, shit, being ripped apart from all limbs, like even from your head. I'm like, no, this is very brutal. These are brutal sacrifices. And this one, even though there's not so much of you getting ripped limb from limb and going through that painful suffering, but these ladies were put through like painful suffering of dying slowly in a box. It's like the same as being buried alive. I'm like, they're alive when they're shoved in this box and claim to go into an eternal sleep. I'm like, what the shit? They're basically drowned in black water. I'm like, how does black water keep them alive and immortal? I don't know. It's maybe just me. I have to get further into the game, but just the concept of it. So the fact that these ladies, these shrine maidens, are taking in other people's suffering, I'm concluding because that person went on a killing spree by killing those maidens flat outright. All that energy that they were containing just flooded out all at once and started wreaking havoc on the mountain there, which attracted so many people to go to the mountain in the first place, to unalive themselves, because all that dark energy of suffering is there and it's so heavy. Basically, everyone acts so melancholy. They're just like in some form of deep pit of despair. All of them. And I feel it for Yuri in a way. I'm starting to feel very sorry for Yuri because she grew up with this clairvoyant gift that frightens the hell out of her. And then I was kind of laughing too because she was trying to use her gift to see what's going on in Mew's mind and everything. And Mew has the same gift and turned that back on her, which I was like, I'm like, this is why they say you're not supposed to invade other people's privacy, even though you have the gift to do it. I'm like, there's a sense of integrity and dignity you have to keep. Some rules to yourself, even though you have a gift that can invade other people's mind and see what's in their dreams, what's going on in their mind. The fact that she did that to Ren, I'm like, you're not supposed to be doing that. I'm like, just because you have a gift to do that doesn't mean you can go and invade someone else's privacy without their consent. People got to learn consent here. Obviously, Yuri needs to learn consent because that was turned right back on her from you, and I was laughing. I'm like, you met your match there, Yuri. I'm like, it's hilarious as shit. So far the game is very good. It keeps me on my toes. I wish the mechanics of the camera was a little bit more smoother and everything in the movements. And I wish the movements of the third person was a little bit more intuitive. But then again, I'm like, I'm asking for too much. The story is too good. I'm just going to play on easy mode throughout the rest of the game and collect the resources, because some people usually suggest, I've read the forums, they suggest just try to play on a mode that you feel comfortable with and just collect as much resources as possible, because you are given very limited amount of resources, meaning the film, the herbal medicine, the sacred water, the embers, so you don't get too wet, because if you do, you're at risk of losing your health very quickly. So there is a strategy to that type of game, but I guess because I'm a streamer and I make content for this channel and stuff, I feel pressured to kind of like not go the route of strategy and, pick up resources and just enjoy the game for the game itself. I don't normally challenge myself with horror survival games, but I kind of did on Friday for the channel. I didn't die. That was the perk. I didn't die. I had my rum bottle aside because someone suggested, each time you die, take a shot. And I was like, I didn't die. I had the rum bottle. I even had my shot glass there ready to die. And I was going to say on camera, so someone suggested that I could, each time I die, that I take a shot. I was fully prepared to do that, but I did not die. But for these videos, when I do my next chapter playthrough of Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater, I'm going to do it on easy mode. But if I do go live again with Fatal Frame, I will keep to my word. I'll play on normal. And then I would take a shot if I die. But either way, the game is really good. I suggest people, I recommend it. I recommend people to play it. I think it's a good way to learn about Eastern concepts of how they learn about spirit, how they talk about spirits. It's just, I like it. It's very rooted in the Japanese Shinto, religion, and how they view spirits, how they view the afterlife, and also these really interesting rituals, which I hope they're not real, but I really hope they're not real. If they are, I'm like, damn. But I'm like, it's good. I would suggest playing it and reading every single item. Just get familiar with the lore. Even you can watch other people's content and videos on it. I know I have, because I don't have access to the original Fatal Frame games, especially the first one, the second one, and the fact that now we have access to Blackwater and the other one, which was the moon one. The fact we have access to that is pretty amazing. At least they're kind of expensive to get. They don't really lower their prices for those games. I would probably say it's probably worth it, because these games are very they're rich. It's very rich survival horror with an interesting concept of using a camera to defend yourself against these spirits who want to do harm on you, that they influence people, get you to unalive yourself. They're going through torment and suffering as well. I'm like, you learn backstories and what happened to all of these spirits. It's all in the game when you take your time with it. But either way, I've ranted long enough. I hope you got something from this, and just keep an eye on all the videos that I create. I will create them and release them in a timely manner for you. But either way, you have a good week. Thank you for watching.